Mr. Bonta and I, together with a whole host of advocates, stood in this room nearly 2 years ago on this process that we've taken a big step today with respect to eliminating money bail in California. It's been a long discussion among a lot of coalitional partners. We have here on stage, in addition to some of those coalitional partners you'll hear speak, the joint authors of this measure, Senator Skinner, Senator Monning, we have Mr. Quirk from the Assembly, we have Senator Wachowski, we have, and Mr. Bonta, and as I say, when we were here together, we were here with Gavin Newsom, who's been a big supporter of this process since its inception, and a lot of questions. I just want to frame out briefly, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Bonta, to our joint authors, and to a number of the unbelievable advocates who've been working so tirelessly. You know, I have worked on a lot of issues over the last number of decades, and I don't remember one taking more time than this. Maybe, I was thinking maybe it was redistricting 20-some years ago, but I'm not quite certain. Because it's been challenging dealing with the really making this fundamental sea change in the criminal justice system in California that discriminates against people who are poor. That's the issue. We have baked in our law, until this law hopefully passes the Assembly floor next week and signed by the governor, a system that punishes people, that takes away their liberty, that treats them differently because they have less money in their pocket. The Chief Justice in her pretrial detention reform group talked about the underlying notion, which informs, I think, this whole coalition of legislators and advocates who've been part of this long fight, to make a system that is both just and fair. Just and fair. That's the underlying framework that we're trying to work with here. We'll outline the details. I'll let Mr. Bonta talk about that a bit. Jessica Bartholow from the Western Center, who's just been incredible. Tia Orr from the SEIU. Unbelievable discussions with the administration, with the Judicial Council, with probation, with all of the coalitional partners. How many hours do you think of conference calls there were on this thing in an effort to fundamentally change the system? And today, with the passage of this measure, SB 10 from the Assembly Appropriations Committee, one stop left to the Assembly floor, one stop after that to the governor's desk, and then we will have reformed the system, in my judgment, in a very significant way. We can answer some of the other questions that you have, but I just wanted to frame that out, and I will turn it over to the co-author and my partner in this process for the last 2 years, Mr. Bonta, who can outline in a little bit more detail the framework of this measure as amended. Mr. Bonta.
Thank you, Senator Hertzberg. I just want to take a moment to pause and really appreciate Senator Hertzberg for his tremendous leadership on this issue. His immovable spirit and his commitment and his passion, he's been as amazing as a partner that you can ever hope for or wish for. And we set about, in this very room, about 20 months ago, to fundamentally transform a broken, unjust, unfair, unsafe money bail system in California. And we launched the plan for reform, and today we stand here once again. So it's fitting that we're here in this room. And I believe we're now on the verge of realizing that transformational change, that paradigmatic shift that we set out to achieve so many months ago. We have taken amendments, as you may have seen, in the Appropriations Committee. This bill will be on the floor shortly. The language of the bill will be available to you if you want it. It might not be online quite yet, but we can provide you copies if you need them. With the amendments that were taken, we're making SB 10 even stronger than it was before. Stronger because it will end money bail in California. Period. Hard stop. End of story. It will protect the poor in the process, and it will protect the public in the process. It will replace a flawed, inequitable, unsafe, money-based system with a fairer, safer system that assesses an individual based on the size of his or her risk, not on the size of his or her wallet. Each individual will get an opportunity to have the nuances and factors of their situation considered, rather than having a $50,000 bail be their ticket to liberty and freedom. Together we've spent weeks, we've spent months, and we've even spent years coming to this point where we are today, crafting this important solution. We've spoken with and listened to stakeholders, including judges, prosecutors, public defenders, sheriffs, probation officers, civil libertarians, victims' rights advocates, and social justice advocates. Each conversation along the way led us closer to where we are today. And let's be clear with what we're achieving with SB 10 today. We've struck a delicate balance between safety and social justice. We will end a predatory money bail system that punishes poor people simply for being poor, and we will enhance public safety in the process. Now, some of you may have heard rumors along the way, and rumors to the effect that we are watering down the bill. I say take another look, read the language. From the beginning, we said we would reform money bail, and well, with this bill, we're actually abolishing it. I'd say that's significant fundamental reform. To those who had opposed the bill before out of concerns for public safety, I say also take another look. We've clarified and strengthened SB 10 to make sure that nonviolent, low-risk defendants are not unnecessarily locked in jail, and those who are truly a safety risk to others or a clear flight risk are held in custody if they cannot be safely released with conditions. So I invite everyone to take a close look at the bill language. Again, we'll make it available to you if you don't have it yet. I want to say a few thank yous. We still have to get off the assembly floor and onto the governor's desk, but we've been in strong negotiations. I want to thank Governor Brown and his team for his and their engagement on this issue and his support to help us reach this point. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom for his commitment to this issue since day one. Again, he was standing side by side with us 20 months ago when we started this journey. I want to thank Chief Justice Tani Kantil Sakauye and the Judicial Council for their courageous, comprehensive report on money bail that enlightened and informed our legislative journey. And of course, I can't thank my colleague and my partner, Senator Bob Hertzberg, enough for his tremendous work. So look, SB 10 is real reform. SB 10 will end our broken money bail system in California, and SB 10 will make California fairer, safer, and better. We're excited for where we are in the process. We look forward to completing the journey on the assembly floor and onto the governor's desk. Just very proud to be at this point. Thanks to all of my colleagues side by side with me today. We've done this together. It's been a true team effort, and I truly appreciate the partnership and the teamwork. With that, I want to introduce Senator Nancy Skinner to make a few comments. So let me stay on script here. I meant Tia Orr from SEIU, California.
Thank you. Tia Orr on behalf of the Service Employees International Union. I stand here today proudly in strong support of the new version and amended version of SB 10. This is on behalf of 700,000 workers across the state of California. And folks might wonder why the union comes to the table. Why do 700,000 workers care so much about reforming the criminal justice system in the state of California? Our members care about justice. Justice is their #1 priority. A priority that means if we achieve it, then less black and brown people, less people that are poor, are going to end up in our system merely because of those mere facts. We want to push for a system that is actually one that assesses the public safety risk, and not one that allows somebody with deep pockets and a whole lot of money to get out regardless of the crime he or she committed. We believe in a system that allows our workers, many of them low-wage workers, to have families and lives that don't necessarily get completely torn because they have someone that was incarcerated. Families that today, grandmothers, mothers, who have put up their homes, who have used every bit of their life savings to get one of their loved ones out of jail, not because they were a risk to the public, but because they didn't have the deepest pockets of some of the other folks that are able to get out when they are blessed with wealth. We are proud of the agreement behind SB 10. We believe that it's a historic agreement. one that completely eliminates a money corporate system from a justice system, two things that we don't think go hand in hand. If you want to repair a system and provide justice to everyone, it should be because we want to keep our community safe, and it should not be because of somebody's wealth or lack thereof. I have an example here. One of our members, Melissa, is here today. She is a mother, she is a wife, and someone who has actually experienced, unfortunately, the wrath of our criminal justice system. Her son's father was unfortunately incarcerated for something that was minute and a misdemeanor. Unfortunately enough, it was in Santa Clara County, a county that already has pretrial risk assessment, a county that allowed the father of her son to be released with support services like mental health, things that can allow him to be a father to his child, allow her not to have to contemplate the potential risk of losing all of her life savings or maybe her house, but allow her to bring her family back together, provide the services necessary, and make sure they're taking their best foot forward to being the law-abiding citizens that I know a lot of these folks are able to do. Santa Clara's work is an example of the great work that SB 10 is going to provide. Melissa is an example of a family that's been impacted by the great work that we do in California. We stand proud, we stand strong behind SB 10. We can't thank the authors enough for your tireless work. Jessica Bartholow and the Western Center for your tireless work, and even the advocates that unfortunately are not with us today. Their tireless work on the ground, we continue to fight with them. We continue to stand with them because the reforms we need in the criminal justice system don't end today. We stand with you for years to come, but this is a big step forward that we have to take the opportunity on and wipe out the corporate interests in our justice system. Thank you. I think I'm gonna turn it over to Jessica Bartholow now from Western Center.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Jessica Bartholow with the Western Center on Law and Poverty. I'm also the chairperson of the California Asset Building Coalition Steering Committee. We are in support of SB 10 and proud to sponsor this legislation. We're doing so because the passage of SB 10 will end the intentful and deliberate practice of considering wealth as a condition of whether or not somebody is detained following their arrest. By ending money bail, we'll be ensuring that people will not be subject to money bail or monetary conditions of release. And we'll be preventing millions of dollars from leaving low-income communities and communities of color and going to corporate money bail system. Very briefly, we are in strong support of this bill because it will advance justice. It's a strong next step in the leadership that California has had over the last couple of years to reform the criminal justice system to make it more fair and more just. On a personal note, I grew up poor here in California, and I can tell you that being poor, people in your community, people in institutions, whether they mean to or not, they let you know that you are different. You are treated differently. You have less than. You're worth less than. But our laws and our criminal justice system should not. Today they do. And with the passage of SB 10, we'll be telling everyone in California that we don't think that they're less than anybody else because they have less money. For this, we're very, very humbled and honored to stand here with the authors, the co-authors, and the other supporters in support of SB 10, and we're urging all of the community to get around and support it, its passage, and its signature with the governor when we're done. Thank you. Oh, and I'm going to introduce a friend and ally, Andrea Perry, with the Californians for Safety and Justice.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Andrea, and I'm here with Californians for Safety and Justice. And first and foremost, without saying another word, we have to say thank you to Senator Hertzberg, Assemblymember Bonta, Assemblymember Quirk, Senator Skinner, and Senator Bob Wajkowski. There are several other people who support this bill, but we are so grateful to the tireless work that they have and their staff has put forward to this bill. For far too long, California wealth determines who is incarcerated pretrial and who is not. That's unfair, unsafe, and inhumane. SB 10 is long overdue reform that is about to change all of that. SB 10 eliminates the unfair for-profit money bail system in California. This is a major milestone and a huge step forward for safety and for justice. Right now in California's pretrial system, the wealthy get out and the poor are either exploited by for-profit companies to get out, or they languish in jail. Low-income families pay thousands of dollars to for-profit bail companies to get their loved ones out of jail. Once they've paid, they never get their money back. Even if someone is found innocent, that money is gone. Do they have that? Are these children now fatherless or motherless for months at a time while they wait just for a hearing? So not only is this devastating and costly to low-income families, it means California continues to waste millions of taxpayer dollars on unnecessary incarceration. Many California jails are overcrowded, and more than 60% of people incarcerated in jail have not been sentenced. For most, bail has been set, but they remain behind bars because they cannot afford it. This costs California taxpayers $1.7 billion a year. Jail costs as much as 10 times more as it would cost for outside monitoring. So instead of locking people up for simply being poor, we can use data that will allow us to make smarter pretrial decisions about how to keep our communities safe. Data-driven alternatives have worked in states like Kentucky, West Virginia, Colorado, and in California counties, as Tia referenced, Santa Clara and Santa Cruz. We cannot be complicit by allowing more people to remain locked up based on the size of their bank account. SB 10 puts California on the path to developing a fair and effective pretrial system. With SB 10, California will be the first state in the nation to eliminate money bail. Once this historic bill passes, the work begins to build smart pretrial justice, and we are ready to work.
Here's the joint author, Nancy Skinner from the Senate, Chair of Public Safety, both the Budget Committee and the Policy Committee. Senator Skinner.
Thank you, Senator Hertzberg, Assemblymember Bonta, Tia from SEIU, Andrea from Californians for Safety and Justice, and Jessica from Western Center, and the other groups that rolled up their sleeves and did the work necessary to get us to this place. And it's essential. Justice should not be pay to play. And with SB 10, it eliminates that price. And eliminating money alone, money bail, makes the passage of SB 10 an absolute priority. Now, there are legitimate concerns that the risk assessment process may find some bias, may end up, because of bias, unfortunately holding people that shouldn't be held or holding people too long. Now, we know already that there is bias throughout our public safety and criminal justice system. And what we are about every day is doing our best to try to eliminate. But if we find, as this bill is being implemented, that people are held either unreasonably or for a longer period of time than is necessary, or wrongly due to bias, that is fixable. And we will fix that. So I appreciate the concerns, but again, justice should not be pay to play, and it will not be once SB 10 is passed, and I thank these excellent folks for their incredible hard work.
Thank you, Senator Skinner. Senator Wachowski.
I'm just so proud to be up here with these folks. We're on the brink of going to the assembly floor to eliminate the bail system that we have in California. It's unbelievable. We talk all the time about what leaders we are in the United States. It's a troubling time throughout the United States. And for once, we can all go home to our loved ones and say, poor ones won one today. Poor people are in the game. This is a major, major reform. I can't put into words how proud I am of the coalition that went together. And these people are dogged. And we will not take no for an answer. This gets off the assembly floor, and this gets to the governor's desk. Thank you very much.
Senator Quirk, please.
Assemblymember Bill Quirk from Hayward. I just want to say I'm very proud to be part of the coalition, and I'm going to work very hard to make sure we get the votes to get this off the assembly floor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Before we take questions, I just wanted to, we talk about this issue of it's both justice and safety. Justice, when people talk about the replacement of bail with pretrial detention, we've always had pretrial detention. It's called the bail system for poor people. That's what's happened. They have pretrial detention because they don't have enough money to get out. The second thing that happens in some other states as we traveled around to study this issue and learn from other states is that in some states they say, well, we don't have bail or we reduce the bail fees, but the cost of getting monitoring systems or paying for services is so much money that you might as well have a bail system because it costs just as much or in some instances more money. We've seen that happen. What the folks that were critical of this measure looked at was an earlier version of this bill that didn't have the point that there was no cost to anybody charged with a crime. That is a huge difference because what it does is it really makes the notion fair to make sure there's no costs associated with these unbelievable charges that often government imposes. And so the essence of this measure is we're going to look at people as people. We are going to have a judge look at your record, look at whether you are a risk to society or a flight risk. That's what this essence of this bill is about. It's not based upon looking at a price list that says, okay, you're charged with penal code section violation of this, and person A has a checkbook, can get out, person B can't. It's a place where Harvey Weinstein would be still detained and wouldn't be able to write a check to get out. It is about your risk to society. It is about your risk for flight so that you can return to your family if you aren't such a risk and that you're treated, as Jessica said, in an honorable and decent way. There are injustices in our system. Our job will be continue next year and the year after and the year after to continue to root those out and to correct them. But what we have today in the system, in our statutes, is a set of laws that bakes in our law this bias toward determining people's freedom based upon the size of their wallet. That is fundamentally what's wrong with bail. That is fundamentally what we've changed here by putting before the legislature next week, passing out of appropriations, a measure that allows judges to make the determination. Judges can look at your records. Judges can determine what your family community connections are. Judges can determine whether you've appeared before. Judges can determine whether there's a domestic violence claim against you where you could hurt a spouse or others. And they will judge you as a person. As a person. That's what justice is about. And simultaneously, that's what safety is about. Because we let people out, we saw it in other counties, and we've seen many examples where we let people out because they can get a checkbook or get a briefcase full of cash, not based upon their safety. Safety and justice. Safety and justice. That is the cornerstone. The headline is bail will no longer be the case if this passes in California. This will be the first state in the union that will eliminate bail completely. The District of Columbia has done it. Others have reduced commercial bail, insurance bail, and had money bail where you can give money to the clerk, but haven't completely eliminated it as part of the process, married with no costs to defendants. So you are not treated in a situation where, oh my God, well, I can't afford the bail, but I also can't afford the cost of paying for a monitoring system.